The Modern Man tutorial, self-control. I mentioned this before about, obviously controlling emotions and how important that is, especially for a man. Now, this applies to females as well, but for us, it's a lot more. This is why, as you can see in the background, I'm using the Hulk. I have the Hulk image because this is literally the thing that involves our emotions, which is why guys, men, right, have to have self-control of our emotions. If not, we literally become the Hulk. We literally become a threat. We literally become a problem. And we shouldn't become a problem. Because just imagine your girlfriend says something that gets you mad, right? Gets you emotional. And anger leads to hate. Hate leads to the dark side, right? To the worst things we could do. And with our size and strength, that is a lot of damage that can be done when you're out of control, when you don't have self-control, right? I want to be more like Smart Hulk, right? You have all this power, you have all this destructive capabilities, but you know better than to unleash it unnecessarily on someone that, can't handle it. And nor should they have to, right? Per se, as in, you shouldn't be unleashing your full strength, your might. So having self-control, right? We all have a Hulk in us. We all have our beast mode, our God mode, whatever you want to call it, right? The thing is we got to have control of it. And with how things are in life, for guys, we're definitely constantly angry, right? That idea of we're constantly angry, which is why we got to have control of it. Females tend to try to be constantly happy, but from time to time they want a little bit of chaos and they want to unleash their inner She-Hulk from time to time, right? But typically they want to be, on the positive. Guys, from our personal life experiences, everything tends to be on a negative. It's too cold that gets, that becomes a problem, right? Or hunger, you're hungry, so you get hangry, right? You get angry because you're hungry. Yeah, right? Those types of emotions, right? Something bad happens. You get rejected, or lose your job, or the list goes on and on of all the different things that you deal with as a human being first and foremost. But then throw on top of that, you're part of the male species. You're expected. There's expectations on you because you're a male, based off of your capabilities. So it's not like people expect you to do things you can't do. It's just they expect you to do things that, because of your gender, you can do. You might be limited. You might not have the full capabilities, but you're at least halfway there, right? So people expect you to be the Hulk, but you're more of a banner, right? You're not that strong. You're not that powerful, but you still have the potential, and that's the whole point. You still have the potential, so you're still going to be treated as if at any moment you can turn into the Hulk, right? You can always Hulk smash. That's why it's very important to have self-control of your emotions. That way they don't control you. Hulk is literally the embodiment of the concept of how important it is for men, right, the male species, to control their emotions, right? Because as much anger a female can feel, she can feel pure anger, pure rage. She won't be able to, even with all that, she won't be able to match up to a man that's angry, a guy that's angry. Right? That's why it's important to control your anger. The evolution from boy to man is controlling the Hulk, right? Controlling your emotions. Because if not, they will control you. Something you have to understand, right? And that's why Hulk is a good example, because emotions are chemicals in your body. Your body releases these chemicals that causes your body to react in a different way. And typically, especially if it's a negative emotion, it makes you act negatively. So think of when your emotions trigger, it's like an app on a smartphone. If you press the calculator app, the phone is now a calculator, right? If you press the Instagram app, now it's Instagram. You get the point. So every time you trigger an emotion, you become that emotion, right? You are now feeling the emotion, right? You're the embodiment of that. So if you're angry, right? You're mad, upset. Well, now you're the embodiment of that, right? You've probably experienced times where you told people to, leave you alone, to don't bother you. And the reason why is because you're you're very close to going from Banner to the Hulk. And if they don't leave you alone, well, we know what happens. Same thing as when Bruce tells people to leave him alone, because you won't like him when he's angry. That's why he literally says it. So I've always, been a fan of the Hulk. I always liked the idea of being able to Hulk out, but obviously with control, I don't want to Hulk out and be dangerous, right? But in my, real life, just like any other guy, we have to deal with things triggering our emotions. And humans have more negative emotions than they have positive emotions. So the likelihood of you hulking out is more often than you not hulking out. So that's why you have to control your emotions way more, because there's way more negative emotions. Throughout the course of the day, you're going to experience a lot of different emotions, right? Someone's going to annoy you. That's one negative emotion, right? You step on something and hurt your feet, like you stomp your toe or something. Anger, bang, that's another negative emotion, right? You miss your bus or something, right? That pisses you off, right? That makes you feel anxious, like, oh shit, I'm gonna be late to work if I don't catch another bus soon, right? Anxiety, right? Being anxious, and if you hear, oh, there's gonna be a delay for the bus, now you feel despair, right? That's another negative emotion, despair, like, oh shit, F this, shit, I could lose my job, damn, or I just won't, or I just be sent home, so I won't get to make money today, and I need the money for the bills, blah blah blah, right? It adds up. So now you stress, right? So all this stuff is adding up. So of course, it's not going to be too surprising if you hulk out, which is why, like I said, you have to control it. This is why we always tell males, right? That men, the male species, to man up. Right? Don't hulk out, man up. Control your emotions. Because if not, well, we know what happens when you don't have control of your emotions. That's the thing. For females, when they get emotional, typically like anger and whatnot, when something hurts their feelings and whatnot, they tend to cry. Right? They'll tend to get verbally violent, right? Verbally assault, verbally harsh. But then there are those occasions where they could get physical, but their but their damage output is a lot less than ours. But for us, still, however, it's more often that if we get mad, because like I said, we typically control our emotions, especially our negative ones. So it takes a while for us to get really, really angry. We got to get super angry. Like, we got to get so angry that we lose our logic, because logically we'll have control of our emotions. Like, okay, she disrespected me. No surprise. It's not the first time I've been disrespected by the opposite sex. Not a big deal, right? She hasn't. What she said is not even the worst thing I've ever heard. So not a big deal, logically, right? But if you compound it with many other things that really grind your gears throughout that day, yeah, that one insignificant insult can push you beyond logic, right? And then bang, you're nothing but emotion. And what emotion you have? Anger. And what does anger lead to? The Hulk. That's why it's not surprising when you hear stuff about any type of incident, any type of assault that involve a guy hitting another human being, whether it be a guy, a girl, or animal, or whatever. It's because they were angry. And like I said, it takes a lot to get a guy angry. Some guys are a little bit more emotional. That's why it's a problem, because the more emotional a guy is, the more likely, he's going to lean to violence. The more self-control the guy has, as in the more he controls his emotions, where he has less emotional outbursts, less he doesn't allow that many things to trigger his emotions. He's more likely to get less angry. This is why a lot of times you see online guys talking about, like, how to deal with rejection, for example, right? Because one, it takes a lot of emotion to even try to approach a female, for example, right? Because if you like her, that's an emotion, and you're going to feel anxiety, which is another emotion. Now, liking her is a positive emotion, yes, but the anxiety, right? The fear of rejection, as they say, right? That's a negative emotion. So you have a positive emotion, which is why you want to approach her, but you have a negative emotion because of the fear of what might happen after you do. Or even just making the approach, just even approaching her is already feels bad, right? It's already a negative emotion, just trying to get to her, right? So that can compound. Which again is why, gotta have more self-control. One good way to practice, having more self-control, right, is something even I do, but I do it for a different reason. I'm more shit testing ladies just to get their attention, being an asshole to get them to, to talk to me, and then, then I put on the charm, right? So I start off as an asshole, right? Being toxic or an incel, right? Misogynist, whatever they want to call it, right? And then I, put on the charm, spit game. So, and that's how, I practice, spitting game, right? That's how I practice, getting along with the ladies, right? Because they do operate differently than we do. It's all about emotions, this, that, there. So it's, there's a lot of information that goes to that, so I can't give you all that information right now when it comes to talk to the ladies, but you get the idea. Point is that, you can use the internet, which is a safe place, so to speak, right? A safe place to potentially practice. A good way, well, obviously you'll want a throwaway account just in case. So TikTok would be a good place to go, right? So make a throwaway account per se, right? Just make a random account, and obviously you're going to have to use an actual image of yourself, but you don't necessarily have to have like your real name or anything like that. You could just make up like a nickname or something, like Hulk Banner or something, some hypothetical thing. Just make up a name or whatnot, because you don't want to put your real identity out there. Remember, you're practicing. But you do want to put some images of yourself, at least in the profile pic, onto the profile. You want to give the ladies something to look at, because remember, the idea is for them to judge you first and foremost on what you look like, right? And secondarily on how you, on what you say, right? Those are the two factors they're going to judge you on. And try shooting your shot, right? And especially if you're the type of guy that that you tend to not be so polite online when you're speaking to the opposite sex, because for whatever reasons, right? Maybe you've been rejected a lot of times. Even when you try to be nice, they, some females might treat you like shit. Well, obviously, again, like I said, gotta control yourself. You gotta find a way to, I call it, it's an old term. I'm killing them with kindness. So learn how to de-escalate them. So look at it this way. Look at it as a lot of the females that you're going to interact with, they're already in their She-Hulk form, right? They're already in their rage, right? They're in their She-Hulk form, right? Per se, the female equivalent to Hulk. So she's mad, she's angry, she's on the defense, she's already hulking out, right? And the idea is you want to calm her down, get her back into her Betty. So let's use Betty Hulk idea. So You want to get her back into her Betty form. Betty, Betty with the good hair, right? So you want to get her back to, her feminine side, not her toxic talking shit, disrespecting you, saying, small dick energy, blah, blah, incel, misogynist, all that stuff that they typically say. You want to combat that, right? The feminist Hulk, if you want to call it. So you want to go up against that, right? You want to turn her back into, a lady. Well, you're going to have to learn how to practice, right? You're going to have to learn how to be able to speak to her, right? Choose your words carefully to get her to, come back into, a more positive mindset. Because again, remember, females operate on emotions, just like we operate, just like we have to have control of our emotions, because if we don't, our emotions will control us. For them, yeah, they let themselves loose. They'll let their emotions control them. Which is why this is why when fuckboys, right, say nice things and say stuff that triggers these females, emotions, this is why they end up complaining later on. All he did was have sex with me, blah blah blah. No relationship, blah blah blah. It's like, well, yeah, all he wanted was one thing, and he told you what made you happy to hear. When women, fall in love with what they hear. Guys fall in love with what they see. So no surprise if, no surprise. That's why I'm saying, like, it's very important when it comes to talking. One of the biggest skills as a guy when it comes to talking to females, obviously this is about self-control, controlling yourself, but, controlling what you say is just as important as, controlling your emotions, right? Because if she says something to you and it hurts your feelings, right, well, you're going to feel some type of way. And if you don't control that, that's a problem. But also you need to control the narrative, right? You need to control what is said to you, right? If you're a big guy and you get a lot of, comments about your size, if it does trigger you, if it hurts you, do something about your size instead of being mad at the world. Like, why am I complaining that I'm big? That's bullshit, blah, blah, blah. It's like, do something about it. If the world says they don't like you being big, well, they have the right to not like you being big. It's up to you if you're okay with it. If you should be okay with them not liking you for your size. But if it is a problem that that you don't like, that they don't like you for your size, then do something about it, about your size, not about them, about your size. Fix that. Because common sense, once you get rid of that size that they've been complaining about, they can't complain about it no more because it's not there, right? They can't complain about a problem that doesn't exist. So just like they can't complain about you being an asshole if you're not being an asshole, right? So take the problem out of the equation, as it were, right? So take, your anger issues out of the situation. Take your, body issue, whatever issue people have with your body, whether you're too skinny, too fat, too muscular, too whatever, right? If it matters to you, if you care of what they're saying, then fix it, right? But if you don't care, then it's not a problem, and that's why, again, like I said, self-control is like, why get mad about people talking about you being big when you choose to be big? If you choose to be big and you're okay with being big, then it shouldn't matter what people are saying. If people say things about you being big, all right, whatever. It don't matter. It's just words. That's the thing. Sticks and stones hurt you. Words shouldn't. And I'm from that generation. I'm from the generation where sticks and stones may break our bones. We're pretty tough. May break our bones, but words definitely won't hurt us. I remember having that conversation before with somebody asking me, like, oh, how do you deal with people saying negative things about you on the internet? It's like, I'm from an older generation where words don't hurt us. Words convey other people's thoughts and their hurt. So if somebody's complaining to me about my size. You know, oh, you're a big guy, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, maybe there was a guy you liked in the past. He was a big guy and he broke your heart. So that's why you don't like big guys. It's not that you don't find big guys attractive. It's just there was a big guy you loved and it didn't work out. That's possible. Right? There could be many other reasons. But you know, I'm just saying this, like, don't assume, you know, if someone, you know, has an issue with you that it's 100% you. It could be other reasons. But still, you're still part of the equation. So either you take yourself out of the equation or you deal with it, right? You solve the equation instead of, you know, trying to make another problem. Remember, you know, let's think about math. Solve the equation. Solve the problem. Don't try to deal with the problem by creating another problem. Right? Two wrongs don't make a right. But a left and a right does make a combo, though. So that's why it's very important to have, you know, as much control as you possibly can to make better decisions in life. That's the thing. It's like we all want to make good decisions. And then sometimes, you know, your first decision ain't always the right one or the best one. Sometimes your second decision or third decision is the best one. So even if you like a chick, right, and you want to approach her, for example, right, you know, she rejects you. Yeah, that sucks. But later on, you might realize, you know what? That was a good thing. That wasn't a bad thing. Because realistically, especially if you, like, I'll add some hypothetical. Later on, you find out that she ends up, you know, murdering like 3 guys, and now she's in jail. It's like, oh shit, I dodged the bullet there. Exactly. Don't assume that a rejection, you know, is a bad thing. Just accept it as like, okay, you probably saved me a lot of trouble because I don't know you. That's the thing. Remember, you're approaching a female, not knowing her, and you're trying to get to know her, and hopefully she'll try to get to know you. But if she doesn't want to take the time to get to know you, that's fine. That's her loss, right? But you definitely don't know much about her. You don't know if she's a serial killer. You don't know if she used to be a man. You don't know too many things about her. You only know what you saw and what you like right there and then. So don't look at rejection as a bad thing. Look at it as like, well, they probably are telling me something, and it's not really about me. It's more about them. You know, they might be a nice person, but for some reason they feel like they will mistreat me, or they'll be an asshole to me, and they're sparing me that situation by rejecting me right off the bat. I use myself as an example. I've rejected females before. I turned females down. You know, I mean, I deal with it a lot because typically, I mean, I can approach females, but typically females approach me, so I don't have to do the approach thing. But I know how, you know, to walk up to a chick and, you know, holler at her, right? But typically I don't have to. Females just come to me. But because they do come to me, I'm in the position where it's like, oh shit, I gotta be the one to reject. I'm in their normal position. Like, they're usually the ones that get approached, and they have to make the decision to, you know, to reject or not to reject. So I know how they feel. I know how it feels to, you know, somebody trying to shoot a shot. It's like, oh damn, the awkwardness is like, yeah, I'm not interested in this person, but I know what it feels like to even get up the nerves, right? To even try to approach. And it's like, damn, she has a lot of feelings. You know, there's a lot going on here that, you know, that goes beyond, you know, just the situation for me. For me, it's like, oh, okay, she likes me and she's shooting her shot. But I don't know much about her. She don't know much about me. I do know that right off the bat, even if she has a great personality, what this, that, and the third, there's certain factors right now that I see right off the bat that show that I'm not interested in. And the thing is that I'm very flexible with what I like. So, you know, So what I like is pretty broad. So almost any chick, right, has a shot with me. But there are very, few things that will make me like, nah, not my type. The other times it's just that I'm not interested in you know in a relationship. Like I'm not interested in a male and female dynamic. I'm just trying to do what I'm trying to do. Like I might be focusing. I might be like, oh no, I'm like busy working on some stuff, and I'm probably be busy for like a year. So for a year, I just want to focus on what I'm doing. So no female interaction for a year. So that's the reason I'm rejecting them. Not because I don't find them attractive or whatnot. It's because I already made a decision that I'm going to forgo female interactions until a certain time period. So just like, let me flip it. Females the same way. You don't know if she's just like, got through a breakup and whatnot. Like she was in a 2-year long relationship or something like that. And she just recently, is broken up. She's not interested in jumping into another relationship because she hasn't let go of the one she already had. Considering the fact, especially if she's not the one that broke it up, if the guy broke up with her, then of course it's going to be harder for her to be quick to jump to the next relationship. So again, it's not you, it's more likely them. So don't take it personal if they reject you. Now I do agree that sometimes some females go too far, like they don't reject you with just a no, I got a boyfriend, or I'm not interested. Like they don't try to give you a logical reasoning for the rejection. They're just flat out just like, ew. Like, okay, that's a little harsh. I would have preferred you say, I'm sorry, you're not my type. That would have been more polite. But saying ill, like, woo, that's a little extreme, don't you think? Like, I'm a human being. I still look, like percentage wise, I'm similar looking to many other guys. So for you to say ill, it's like, whoa, do you hate men much to go ill? There's no way I look so not good, right, to you that I would elicit a ill. Ill implies that I look really fucked up, super fucked up. That's like unrecognizable that I'm a human being. That's what ill really should mean, or does mean. That's why it's a very, very harsh thing to hear a female say, like ill. Like damn, you could have said no thanks, not my type. I already have a boyfriend. Like tons of things you can say. Ill is not one of those things you should say. So there is always that. But like I said, you gotta have that self-control. You don't want to hulk out, especially not at the wrong time. Also learn how to release it if you're the type of person. Because like I was saying with the whole TikTok thing, is like you want to, practice talking in comment sections, right? There's going to be situations where you're going to be disagreeing. You can obviously try to shoot your shot. Just find some females in the comment section and just comment. Literally, there's going to be a whole bunch of females there you can comment on. And more often than not, they're not even going to notice that you're commenting on a whole bunch of female comments. They're only going to focus on the fact that you comment on them, and that's the only thing they're going to pay attention to. And then you just go from there. Unless she puts a lot of effort to it, actually notice that you're talking to other females in the comment section. Obviously, you can talk to one female in one comment section, and then go to another video and talk to another female in another comment section of another TikTok video, just to reduce the possibility of them seeing you talk to seeing that you're talking to someone else. But like I said, it's like you want to practice. In other words, you want to practice rejection to a point where rejection doesn't faze you. And a lot of fuckboys already had that experience. A lot of fuckboys already do that. A lot of fuckboys will go to a club, talk to a chick, she rejects him, all right, just moves on to the next chick and just keeps on going and walks around the club looking for a chick who's interested. Sometimes, for me, it doesn't take that long for me to notice in a group of 5 chicks which one likes me. Usually it's just one just one or maybe two in the group of five that likes me, like me. Like right off the bat, just seeing me, it's obvious that they like me. The other ones, the other three or four, right? They could like me, you know. Once I put on the charm, right? Once I start talking and whatnot, then their perception of me will change. But remember, first and foremost, when they see you, they're already making a judgment. And if it's a negative judgment, well, that's their first impression of you, negative, right off the bat. You need to change that perception based off of how you behave and how you talk. So that's why talking is very important. Controlling emotions is very important because sometimes you'll say things out of emotions, right? Out of anger. So there's that to help you control emotions. Another thing is, especially when controlling your anger and your tendency, whatever, your tendency to escalate things and maybe even get physical. Punching bags will be good for that. Let it out, right? You can literally just like run through a argument, right? A situation where you were disagreeing with somebody and they made you really mad and you almost punched them, but you didn't. Well, take it out on the punching bag. Relive in your mind that situation, that conversation. If you still feel the same way you did when you thought about it, like, yeah, I still feel like punching that person who I was having a disagreement with, and let it out on the punching bag. Because your body, your mind will take that thought, that situation, and combine it, and that will become like a memory. It'll be a memory of like, basically your body will get used to the idea and be like, yeah, that situation, in your mind escalated to a physical altercation, but it actually never did. So you give the illusion that you hit somebody out of anger, but you actually didn't. So then your mind's already going to go into let's try not to do that again. You already experienced that, right? You already experienced getting angry enough to hit something. Sometimes you might even notice when somebody gets so angry they'll punch a wall or something like that out of anger. That's literally the concept. But instead of waiting until you get angry and then punch a wall, I'm telling you, take any negative situations you can think of, whether you make it up in your head or that actually happened to you, and then unleash it on a punching bag. Lift some weights and just think about some bad situations you've had, and literally work it out, right? By literally working out and lifting weights and stuff like that, and let it out. Let weight training be therapeutic. Let punching a punching bag be therapeutic. I mean, if you have a sparring partner, that's another thing. If you're like in boxing, MMA, or some type of combat sport, you can let it out there, right? You'll literally have another human being you can unleash the beast, right? You can Hulk out with. Ideally, you want the person you're going up against to be a Hulk-like character, right? That way, it's a bit of a challenge, because if they're a Hulk-like person, then obviously they can handle you unleashing your inner Hulk, right? And that's the thing. It's like, it's very important to control emotions. A lot of times I will see that back in the day, we used to have that where like kids will be like angry, like kids with anger issues. Older guys, right, like myself now, right? Older guys back then will try to mentor the kids, right? Get them into boxing or karate or something, teach them some discipline. And the purpose was for self-control, to control their anger, to control their emotions. So that way they're not violent. That way they're not a problem child. That way they're not misbehaving in school. Definitely not. You don't want to misbehave with females, because that's how you get no bitches. You got to control your emotions. If not, one, females can control you with it, and two, you get no bitches if you're emotional. Regardless of how many times females talk about, be in touch with your inner feelings, and your feelings and your inner femininity and all this nonsense. I do care about your feelings, blah blah blah. Like, no, bullshit. Control your emotions. If not, it will control you, just like they will control you. And trust me, females are smart enough to know how powerful our potential, like our Hulk level potential, and which is higher than their potential, their Hulk-like potential. So clearly, they would like to have control of our Hulk-like potential. That's one of the funny things I remember from the She-Hulk show was the fact of the idea of like, she was like, so I'm like better than you, and he's like, no, different. I love that. Like, no, different. Like, oh no, we know for a fact that he is the strongest of all the Hulks, and there are variations of Hulks in the series, of the comic series, but Hulk is the strongest among them. So, so that's why it was a little bit funny, but it's like, yeah, because when it comes to the male and female dynamic, and that's part of because it's important for you to have control of yourself for yourself. That's why it's called self-control. It's not control for females. You're not controlling yourself for females' sake, right? You're not controlling yourself for women, right? You're controlling yourself for yourself. That's why it's self-control, right? Just like women, right? Females, right? They have to have self-esteem instead of expecting constant validation from everyone else, right? And expecting love, external love from everybody else. They're supposed to have real self-love. They don't know what self-love is. They say self-love. What they really mean is selfishness, but that's for a different topic. But the point is like, like I said, control yourself. For yourself. Just like, there's a lot of things you can do for yourself, like get in shape, get smarter, and become smart Hulk, right? Brains and bronze, right? Which means you have control of your emotions, right? So you're not a raging beast, right? You're smart, so obviously you're going to make good decisions. You're going to use your capabilities, your strength, right? And make a difference in your life and those around you. Every guy has a potential to be a superhero, right? Every guy has a potential to be a Superman. But first and foremost, you got to become a man. And you're not going to be a man if you're emotional. Because we all know it. Because that's what always cracks me out when I hear the idea of like, oh, guys should express their emotions. Like, no. We see it time and time again, especially with a character like Superman. Like, how important it is for Superman to control his anger, right? Same for Hulk. How important it is to control his anger, because if not, he's just going to get more powerful, right? More dangerous. And that's the main part. He's going to become more dangerous, more violent. Because when he turns into Hulk, it's not to be a nice guy, right? It's not to be, your friendly neighborhood, Hulk. No. Hulk smash. That's the whole point. And you don't want him to be smashing, things left and right. So, like I said, self-control. If you label yourself a man, you better have self-control. You better not be out here being emotional over the dumbest things. Be logical. You're going to get no more often than you're going to get yes. Your feelings are going to get hurt more than your feelings are going to get, more. You're going to get more negativity than you're going to get positivity, right? So when people give you compliments, obviously appreciate them, because you probably don't get them that often anyway, right? Plus, here's the thing. We don't need it. We appreciate it. We greatly appreciate, positive feedback and whatnot, but we don't need it as much as how a female would need it, right? We don't need it as much. Because for us because we're about accomplishing things. So if I beat a video game, that's for me, right? I beat the video game and that makes me happy. That's because I accomplished something. So that's my validation, is me achieving my goal. If I want to get in shape, me exercising and getting in shape, that makes me happy because I achieved that. I set up my mind to do it and I did it. For females, it's the opposite direction. For us, it's like us doing things is what brings us happiness. So we don't need other people to give us compliments, right? Or positive feedback. We don't need external reinforcements, right? Or validation. We don't need external. We don't need it. Like, we don't require it. Can you appreciate? Yes, like I said, of course, appreciate a compliment, but we don't require it. Like it's not something that we need to function. You can literally be on an island all by yourself, never getting attention, never getting a compliment, no one giving a fuck how you feel, right? None of that shit. Just think of that. Imagine yourself on an island, but you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people around you. But imagine yourself like you're on an island, right? You got to make yourself happy. You got to feed yourself. You got to protect yourself. You got to take care of yourself. Self-reliant, self-control, selfish. Not too much. Be a little selfless, right? Notice that self isn't selfish, but it's also in selfless. So I'm a pretty selfless person. I hope a lot of people can contest to that. But there is times that I should be a little selfish. And that's where, self-control comes in, right? Sometimes I got to control myself and be like, all right, I got to stop being selfless. I got to stop being, a people pleaser, right? Trying to do things to make other people happy and then cause myself to be less happy because I'm not achieving the things I want, but I'm helping everybody else achieve what they want. Ain't nothing wrong with being helpful and helping people. But if you're neglecting yourself by trying to help other people, that's a problem. So sometimes you gotta be a little selfish. Try to balance it out. I'm not saying just completely do a 180 and be like, all right, you know what? Everybody I'm helping, screw y'all. I'm gonna stop helping y'all. I'm gonna help myself. Try to find some time to do, to have me time, right? You time. And I can go on for hours, but that'll be the end of this video. Damn.